Hey, welcome to the Biz Life Podcast. I'm Donnie Bedore, your host, and we are here to talk about business, everything about business. And man, I have a special guest for you today. His name is Wes Shannon, and he's with Brazo Wealth Advisors. So you're going to teach me a little bit about what I should and should not do with my money as a small business owner.
Well, I'll try.
Yeah, I mean, so the idea of this show is to help the small business owner.
Good.
Obviously, there's many different states of small business owners, right?
Right.
Someone that's just getting started, someone that's maybe even thinking about it.
Right.
Those that have been in business for a few years, and those, veterans.
Yes.
Like yourself.
Sure.
Okay. So yeah, really wanted to, dive into just the whole idea of, money management and pitfalls and just different things that, we can maybe educate our audience.
Yeah.
So, hey, if you're on here, number one, we appreciate you. If you would subscribe to our channel on our YouTube channel, like and share it out. We really appreciate that. And so, yeah, Mr. Wes Shannon. Awesome.
Good to be here.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. Yeah. So first, before we dive into all that, tell me a little about yourself, right?
Ready to boost your business's impact? Fully Promoted Fort Worth is your one-stop destination for branding needs, specializing in branded apparel and promotional products. They help attract, retain, and engage customers. From custom uniforms to eye-catching items, Fully Promoted Fort Worth has you covered. Contact them today to unlock your brand's potential. 817-803-4404. Fully Promoted, your success, their passion.
I'm a certified financial planner, and I started my own independent registered investment advisory firm 10 years ago.
Okay.
Prior to that, I'd worked in financial planning and insurance. I started my career way back 40 years ago in the insurance business and got my securities license. Okay. And my grandfather started an independent insurance agency in Fort Worth in the 1950s. Oh, wow. My dad and his brothers ran it. I worked for them for a while when I started my career.
Okay.
And they've made it to the third generation. My cousin now runs it.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's
okay.
Been very successful. And along the way, I owned an insurance agency for a while there. I owned a long-haul trucking company. That's a whole different story.
Okay.
And when I went back, I had to go back to college as an adult to become a certified financial planner. Yep. And started this practice. And I've been blessed. We have a partner. He's in Wichita Falls, and we've done very well. We're real pleased.
Married, kids?
Yeah. I've been married twice. So,
Me too.
Got it down. Second time's the charm.
Yeah.
But no, I have three wonderful kids, 2 sons and a daughter. They're all on their own, off my payroll.
Okay. Are they in the business with you at all?
Oh, no, none of them
doing their own thing?
They all do their own thing.
Okay.
They're in Wisconsin and Kansas City and Austin. Okay. So they're all around the place. So.
Now, did you grow up in the Fort Worth area?
Yeah, I grew up in Fort Worth. So did my parents and my grandparents. So it's a long-time native of Fort Worth and North and West Texas, where family's from. So, it's a...
So coming out of college, or did you go to college?
I did. I went to college out of high school for a while, and then I got married and went in the insurance business and got my securities license. Then I went back to school at North Texas when I was 48 years old.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Excellent. So what made you want to get into wealth advisory?
Well, I've always had I've worked in financial planning and financial services for years. There's a real short story on that.
Yeah.
About 20 years or so, maybe longer, a lady was referred to me by a good friend. Her husband had just died. And she was a kindergarten teacher.
Okay.
And he had always handled the finances, and she really just didn't know what to do and how to handle what she had. And in working with her, I realized she didn't need anybody to sell her a product. She needed some help of figuring out what to do. And so we did. We figured out when she would start her Social Security, which is like 7 years out, and we figured out how to live on some of the money that he had left her and the life insurance proceeds until then, and how to invest the rest and it worked out really well. And she was a client till she passed away.
Okay.
And it was very rewarding. And at that point in time, I said, I'm ready to dive into this full time. So that's what led me to that.
And so how long have you been in this type of work?
I've been doing financial planning since about 20 years, I guess.
Wow. Okay.
Had my own firm for the last 10.
Nice. Well, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Been pretty rewarding for you.
It has. We're a small boutique firm. We manage about $115 million.
Okay.
For about 140 clients.
Okay.
About 5 small business owners that we do 401ks and pension plans for.
140 clients. That seems small.
It is small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
but it really allows you to focus on those 140.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And
nice.
About a year ago, we quit advertising and marketing and said, we're going to work with referrals only. And knock on wood, things have been good. We've had over an 8% growth.
That's good.
And we onboarded 3 new clients last month. So
nice.
It's been very rewarding. Very good.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and jump into it. So, first steps of a small business owner, right? Yeah. What kind of advice would you give?
Well, I really appreciate that, Donnie, because about 65% of our clients are small business owners.
Okay.
Either retired small business owners who've successfully made it to the end and did something with their business to monetize it or pass it on to the next generation. And so that's kind of where my heart is for that. My parents were self-employed. My partner's parents were self-employed. So we both kind of gravitate towards that. Yeah. When it comes to a small business owner, there's, like you said, there's different phases.
Sure.
At the beginning, I love the quote by Dwight Eisenhower says that victory loves preparation. You got to write a good business plan. Okay. When I see small business owners who don't make it, which a lot of them don't, in talking with them, they never wrote a plan.
Yeah.
And I can't emphasize enough that if you're starting a small business, or if you've already started one and you haven't written a plan, go ahead and write a 5-year plan. But a good business plan should take a lot of time, and you should send it to people that you respect in the business world. When I started my own firm, I started writing the business plan in February. I revised it 9 times, and that was 9 times after I took it to some people that I respected in my industry and out of my industry. And just little things like, well, where's your marketing segment of this? What's the demographics of your market? How much market share do you need? Things like that to get you to start thinking about your business. And once you've got a good plan, like Dwight Eisenhower, he spent a year and a half planning D-Day. Right. When you get real detailed into it, your chances of success are much better because you set reasonable goals. You know how much capital you need. Right. How long it's going to be before you start making a profit. Right. I mean, a good business plan oftentimes won't show a profit for the first 2 or 3 years.
Okay. Well, good. I was just having a discussion with that on a Zoom meeting just prior to this, right? And they were asking me my opinion on that. I said the same thing. 1 to 2 years, right? Don't expect to make profit. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's why it's important to have other people look at your business plan and give you that advice and say, hey, challenge you on what the assumptions are you're making. So that's the best thing for success for a small business owner at the beginning or right after they started. Yeah. After they've been in business for 5 or more years, you hope at that time they're paying, the most important thing you can do is get to that level to where you're paying yourself a salary equal to the work you're doing. Gotcha. I try to explain to business owners, you need to separate the employee and the owner
hat and the owner hat.
And the owner hat. They're 2 different things.
I agree.
And they get paid differently.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
You get paid for ownership out of the profits.
That's right.
But as an employee, you should be paid for your work. Yeah. And I like to see small business owners put themselves on the payroll. Yeah. I mean, physically, W-2 income. Yep. A couple of the other advantages of that is when you ever go out to buy a car or a house and you go in there and you flop down your W-2s and you show you've been paying your taxes and it's been withheld, that means something to a lender. Yeah. And so it's very important to do that. And that's the next step after you've written that business plan, got it going. Once you get to the about 5-year mark, you better start paying yourself a marketable salary for what you're doing. And then at that time, start saving. I think the biggest threat I see to small business owners for retirement is they'll tell me, well, my retirement's in my business. That's a pretty risky place to be.
Yeah.
Because none of us know, one, will the business be worth anything?
Right.
And then also, will it be worth on the day that I choose to retire or get out?
Right.
You know, you got a big timing issue there.
Yeah.
And then you got a question of, is it going to be relevant? Will new technology push that business aside?
Yeah, things to think about.
Yeah,
so for sure.
To put all your eggs in that one basket is risky.
Yeah.
The successful retired small business owners that I've worked with always had that, I call it milking the cow. They milked their business for cash and they accumulated a big pot of cash outside of the business. Gives you a lot of flexibility. I've seen guys being able to have that kind of money to finance the sale of their business. That helps. Or have the ability to pass it on to the next generation and not burden them with debt because you've gotten all this money out.
Right.
So your focus needs to be after that 5 years is, okay, am I paying myself a going wage? And what am I doing to milk this company, get money out?
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I like it in the beginning. You were talking about the plan, right?
The plan.
Again, if you don't plan, then you plan to fail.
Right. Exactly.
And so now definitely a good business plan, super important.
Hey, you know, one of the best places to get a business plan, I tell you all the time, is it's a free template on the Small Business Administration website. They have a great business plan template.
Nice.
I used it myself. That's what I based to do my own business plan. And it's kind of cool to go back and look at your business plan 2 or 3 years into it and say, well, I was right about this and I was wrong about that. But it gives you a good basis to know where to go forward.
Yeah, definitely. I think looking back at your plan is super important, right? You don't know where you're going unless you know where you've been.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So, awesome. Any other pitfalls that you can think of?
Well, the biggest pitfall is, like I said,
is not having a plan.
Not having a plan and also not understanding taxation. Especially
tell me about that.
People that get into the trades. You know, they'll go out and, I'm a plumber and I got the truck and I got the tools and I'm going out and doing things and I'm making money. But they're not paying a salary, so they're not keeping up with the taxes. Or they hire some help and they don't realize that in America, a small business owner is also a tax collector.
It's a true story.
All right. We're responsible for collecting taxes for the employees and sales taxes. I always get a kick out of, a lot of times if you read some of the Bible stories and he's talking about this guy was a tax collector and how evil he was seen in the Roman world to be a tax collector.
Right.
And I'm like, I guess we figured it out in this country. We made all the business owners
if you're
tax collectors.
You're the tax collector.
You're the tax collector.
True story.
So that's important. I see the biggest failures in the first 1 to 3 years are people that get behind on their taxes. And the IRS, they don't call you. They don't send you a notice. They just take it out of your bank account.
Right.
So many a time an unprepared business owner I've seen go, oh my God, the IRS just swiped my account for all this money and now I can't do it. So you
pulled it from, blow schmo off the street.
It's
not your money.
It's not your money, but you didn't realize that.
Wow.
So that's very important. Other pitfalls, not paying yourself a salary. Because then you don't really truly understand your profit. It distorts your profit.
Right. Because then you got this free labor. Right. That's built into it. And it's like, hey, it's not really free labor.
And if you go to try to sell it. That's the first thing a buyer's going to look at is, well, what's in it? If I get somebody to run this, is there anything left? No.
Right. Yep. And that's what I've always said is, again, sometimes a small business isn't sellable because that business is based off of you working it. So take you out of the fact. Someone's buying themselves a job. They're not buying themselves a business. So,
And more so in the professional fields like lawyers, doctors, even financial planners, in order to make it a viable firm, you have to be showing a profit and showing that you're paying a wage for the professional who's running it, so that you could show that if another one stepped in, this is the salary they would make.
Yeah.
And so in those cases, one of the options, I always call it the end game, is you have to, after about the 5 year when you've survived,
right,
start thinking of the end game.
Yeah.
You've built this tiger. How are you going to let go of it?
Yeah. Yeah. I always say start with the end in mind.
Start with the end in mind.
Start with the end in
And
mind.
it changes.
Right.
Like one of my top clients owns a small business here in Fort Worth. Recently was third-party appraisal. It was at $18 million.
Wow.
Okay. He's done very well.
Yeah.
When we started working together, the idea was when I get to be in my early 60s, I'm going to sell it.
Okay.
His competitors were often sending him inquiries.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
He gets down to his early 60s, and now his 2 son-in-laws and his daughter are all working in the business. And he goes, if I sell it to a third party, they may be looking for a job.
Sure. Right.
And I'd really like for them to keep it. So that changes things.
Right. Yeah.
And had he not set aside money for himself, and if his only plan was to sell it,
Yeah.
he's in a bind if he decides to change that plan.
Right.
This guy has been very fortunate to suck money out of the company. He's got a couple million outside of the company.
Nice.
So now he says, okay, I can give some of the stock to my kids.
Right.
I can sell it and I can finance it over a 5-6 year period myself.
Right.
He's got options because he had the money out.
That's such a good strategy.
Yeah. If you want to give yourself options,
Yeah.
cash is king. You know that.
Yep.
If you got money in the bank, money in an investment account, you got options.
Right. True story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Always keep that money aside because you never know what opportunities you're going to have.
Right.
And if you don't have the money and the opportunity comes, that's someone else's opportunity.
Right.
It ain't yours.
Yeah. And bankers are not, they don't see opportunities the way entrepreneurs do.
Right. Yeah.
More than once I've had to argue with bankers and,
Yeah.
and they just don't see it.
Right.
So it's better to have your own funds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree.
A good way to start after that 5th year is start paying yourself. Set up some automatic savings vehicle from the business account or from your personal account. I usually start new business owners as soon as they're ready to, after they've gotten past that 3 or 5 years of building, making sure they're going to keep the doors open.
Right.
Just start out with a Roth IRA.
Yeah.
Okay. You can only put $7,000 to $8,000 into it.
Right.
It's a start.
Yeah.
Okay. And once you get to where you're doing that, then let's look at maybe a 401k plan with a profit sharing option.
Right.
And that way you get some additional tax advantages. But you can do a 401k Roth. Well, you could put up to $30,000 into that each year.
Oh, really? I did not know that. Wow.
Versus the Roth IRA is 7 or 8.
Yeah.
So
I knew that.
yeah. So it's there's a lot of, and those limits change every year. They go up. But, that gives a great opportunity. And then profit sharing plans on top of 401ks. I had a client who's a physician, had 6 employees. He's older than most of his employees. He pays himself a lot more.
Right.
So a profit sharing plan, he can put, for every dollar he puts in the profit sharing plan, 96 cents of that dollar goes into his account.
Okay.
Okay. So it's really easy then to say, well, let's just drop another $100,000 or $200,000 at the end of the year. And most of it goes to him.
And the rest of it
goes to the employees in a proportionate manner.
Okay.
So there's all sorts of tools out there to start milking the company.
I like that too, because really that doesn't tie in necessarily to ownership, right? The profit share plan is just a retirement plan that you can set up.
It's just a retirement plan you can set up.
Yeah.
Yes. And it says profit sharing plan, but there's no profits required.
Okay.
So if you're in a heavy capital heavy business with a lot of equipment and you have a large amortization of equipment expenses, non-cash expenses like depreciation, then that's a great tool that you may not be showing a profit because of these non-cash expenses you have.
Right.
The taxable expenses.
Yeah, you're writing those off.
But you're actually got cash.
Gotcha.
You can use the profit sharing then.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. So,
yeah, see, I'm learning something too.
There you go.
So I knew I would.
Right?
Very good. So what investment strategies are most effective? We talked a little bit about the profit sharing plan. Are there other investments that are effective for a small business owner?
Well, one good thing for a small business owner, if you require any real estate,
Okay.
it's usually best for the owner to own the real estate personally and then do a lease agreement with the business.
Okay. Well, personally, like you most likely you would probably put it in an LLC.
Yeah, you put it in LLC, but where you own it 100%.
And then, the business is going to lease it. Yeah,
I've even seen it where they personally own the building.
Okay.
Either way, there's some advantages taxes for them individually, but it also gives you more of that flexibility at the end game.
Yeah.
Maybe you sell the business
and you got
keep the building and keep getting the rents.
Right. Yep.
Okay. Or if you're turning it over to the kiddos and you say, well, I'll give the kids ownership instead of getting cash for it or carrying a note.
Right.
And I'll still get income from the rents.
Yeah.
You just do a long-term lease agreement.
Yeah.
So it's all about flexibility.
Right.
So real estate that's used in the business, if there's any specialized equipment, you could make a case for owning that personally and leasing it back to the business.
Oh, okay.
Problem with a lot of equipment is a depreciable asset.
Right, right.
So that doesn't work as well as real estate.
I gotcha. Yeah, no, I definitely. Yeah. Real estate would probably be the best just because it appreciates for the most part. It's probably the only thing really in a business that physical aspect.
It can appreciate. Sometimes it can't.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, I've been on the wrong end of real estate deals too over the years.
Man.
So it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Anytime you invest, which is owning something.
Yeah.
There's risk involved.
Sure.
Yeah. So another a good tactic for a business owner to pull money out of the company. There are times when your company needs cash, and again, if you've been successful of getting cash outside the business, you be the lender to the business.
Yeah, you do a loan and then
do a loan back and take and get an income stream there and get the interest back on it.
Yeah.
So that's another. And even if you then sell the business, that has to get repaid at the time of sale. So,
right.
Yeah. So it's there's those are the main things. It all goes back to if you can get to the level you're paying yourself a good salary for what you do.
Yeah.
Well, if you're like a responsible adult, live within your salary and save out of it too.
Yeah.
Okay. You should be saving 10, 15%.
Yep.
There.
Right.
And so if you'll build that money outside the corporation, I mean, that needs to be your goal. Yeah. Once you say, okay, the business has got legs, it's going to stand. Now, how can I get money out of this thing?
Yeah. I've talked to many business owners as well too, and not on the financial, advisory side, but just friends and people I know, right? And I see it so much. It's almost like salesman, right? Yeah. Salesman, you'll have a low month, right? And it's like, oh, woe is me. I need to get out there and work, right? So they work, and they're like, oh, I struck it big on a couple of things. Well, now I got money in my pocket. What do I do? Now I go buy a boat and I buy a new truck and I put a pull in and then it goes back down.
It goes back down. Yeah.
It's like this just roller coaster.
Well, and that goes back to, and we, in our firm, we have a couple of corporate accounts corporate clients that we not only do their 401k and profit sharing plans, but they have its own retainer to do cash flow management and just general business advising, consulting work. Yeah. And one of the things we always stress is before you start taking profits out of the company, get enough cash in the company operating account for 2 months worth of expenses.
Okay. I was going to ask you that too. I've said 3.
Three's better.
At least 2.
At least 2.
Okay.
Don't dare start paying yourself any of it until you get to 2.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm comfortable with get to 2 and then take half of the money that you make beyond that out in distributions and let the other half build up to that 3 if you want to. Yeah. But have a cushion.
Yeah. Would that really depend though on the type of business and the cash flow within the business?
Well, it depends on that. It depends on your tolerance and your feeling of safety.
Your risk levels.
The story goes that Bill Gates, after Microsoft took off, he said to his board of directors, he goes, I want to have 1 year's of total payroll in the bank.
Okay. A year worth of reserve payroll.
Payroll. He said, that way I don't have to lay anybody off. No matter what happens, I got a year's worth of payroll. Now, I'm hoping he included his own payroll in that too. But that's
Yeah.
That's a personal preference.
Sure.
I mean, that's pretty secure.
Yeah.
But
I mean, a big company like that.
Big company like that, it probably only took him 6 months to get there.
I know, right? True story, right? Yeah. So build. Okay. So financial plan, or your business plan.
Yeah.
And then after you get it going, right? Let's get a reserve, at least 2 months of full expenses. Right?
Yeah.
If you brought no income this month, what's your I say you're nut, right?
Yeah.
You
can just keep the doors open.
2 months of that.
Yeah.
Start building up, maybe 3 or whatever your level of your level of tolerance is.
Yeah.
And then start paying yourself.
Pay yourself as much as you can.
Yeah. And so definitely, would you recommend putting yourself on W-2 prior to doing draws?
From profit? Absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be first before you do draw.
Before you do any draw. Yeah,
okay. And then
real quick, a lot of CPAs will argue with this advice.
Okay.
Because they say, well,
it's about to get controversial.
It's going to get controversial here. If CPAs will say, pay yourself a minimum salary because you have to pay matching FICA and work comp expense on that, and take a draw, and you don't have to do that. Okay. If you're just trying to work the tax game, that is the proper advice.
Right.
But if you're trying to build something that's worthwhile to sell, you need to be paying yourself a full salary.
Right.
Okay. And I have an example of a client who is a lawyer. He's waited till 70 to start his Social Security, which is the highest payout.
Right.
And he's a client of mine. He brought it in. I said, let's see what you're going to get for Social Security. And I go, that's it? And he goes, well, I've always just paid myself the minimum salary all these years for my CPA. And I took draws. His age 70 Social Security is going to be about less than a third of what I'm getting.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Because I've been paying myself a big salary all these years.
Okay.
So, I mean, I look at that and I go, not that Social Security is a great return on investment.
Sure.
But it's another something to have.
Right.
When you're 70, you start looking at money different manners.
Yeah. And I like how, and this goes along with your business and your advisory. It's like you keep that end in mind, to all the way to the end, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's like, Yeah. And again, I think most people, especially small business, right? They do look for those quick, how do I get out of paying this and that? And later in life, when you're a little bit older, that
those
may
are all
come to
short-term decisions that affect the long-term.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, how can an entrepreneur optimize their business structure? Well, like for tax efficiency and wealth gain, right? What are some other things that they can do?
Well, there's all sorts of debate on whether you should be a regular C corporation or operate as an S corp election.
Can you tell me the difference between some of those, right? Because I know you got your LLC, then you have your LLC as a C corp and an S corp, right?
Okay. Yeah. Well, first of all, just kind of the basics.
Yeah.
A regular C corporation is a separate entity.
Okay.
That pays its own tax return.
Almost like a trust?
Yeah, you could call it that.
Okay.
But it's a separate entity that pays its own tax return.
Okay.
And after it pays the taxes, it can pay dividends.
Okay.
Well, think about that. If you already paid taxes and what's left over, you pay dividends. And then when you personally receive the dividends, you have to report that as taxable income. It's taxed twice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If the business has a loss in any 1 year, it stays there. It just is applied to future earnings.
Oh, okay.
Okay. When you go to a sub-S election, you're saying, okay, we're going to pass that through to the owner, the loss or the gain.
Yeah.
So if the business shows a big gain, all that gain is reported as income to the owners, and there isn't another tax return.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where they give you a K-1.
They give you a K-1. Right. It all comes to you for tax purposes. So you're only paying tax on it once,
right?
Versus paying it over here. And then if you take a dividend, paying it again,
right?
The downside of that is sometimes you leave money in your business. You bought new equipment,
Right.
or you bought it, or you've kept it in your reserves, and so you get a K1 for $100,000, but you didn't get the $100,000.
Right. You have 50,000 still in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
And so
okay.
you got to pay tax on that. So
okay.
a lot of times then you have to bonus yourself money to pay the taxes,
Right.
which just adds to your profit for the next year, and it goes on.
Yeah.
It's still starting out, generally I always say you want to be a sub S.
Yeah. That's what I've always
Starting out,
thought
because
too, yeah.
you're going to have losses those first 2 years.
Right.
And it's nice to take the losses personally. Especially let's say your spouse has a job.
Right.
And, I was fortunate. My wife had a really good job when I started my business. So those first 2 years that I was getting a loss, at least I was reducing our taxes.
Right.
So I got some benefit. It's kind of hard to sit there and tell your wife that, I didn't make any money this year. But, hey, it saved us some money on taxes.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's a good way to be. Now, when you get more mature in the business and you're making a lot of money, if you're going to put money back in the business, generally speaking, it's better to unelect your S status and go to a regular C corp.
Okay. So that can change.
It can change.
Okay.
It's a one-time change. Once you change back, you can't go back.
You can't go back.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
But a good example is years ago, I worked with a wholesale supply company, and the founder and owner passed away, and his kids took over. And none of his kids were active in the business. They hired a manager who ran it. Well, because they were still an S corp, and it was very profitable.
Okay.
It was generating $200,000-$300,000 a year in profits.
Wow.
Okay. Well, the kids were saying, if I'm going to get taxed on it, I want the money. So they would drain the corporation of money. They would actually pay all that out.
Yeah.
Well, then it got to where their computer systems were antiquated, and then a thing called the internet came out.
All right.
And they were producing a manual catalog, and they needed to have a website.
Yeah.
And the manager was saying, I got to spend some of this money.
Right.
And the kids were going, no, we want our checks.
Right.
We like those checks. And so it really, they started losing market share. It really got to be a real crisis.
Wow.
Fortunately for them, a competitor came in and bought it all. And they all went off into the sunset happy. But
Right.
they were fortunate. It was heading on a decline because of that.
Yeah.
And so had it stayed a C corp, they could have left that money in there. It wouldn't have affected the kids. And they would have just taken dividends.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Okay. So that's really the threshold to move to the C corp. You would say just really it's on an income base, not an income, but like a profit basis, right? Once you get to a certain threshold
you get
or whatever.
to a really, well, you're at that real mature stage of your business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you would want to do that.
I got you.
Yeah. Yeah. As far as LLCs versus corps and I operate as an LLC. I'll be damned if I really know what that does for me. Okay.
I know, right? Yeah.
I mean, it all talks about corporate veils to protect you from personal liability.
Right.
I'll tell you, in my years of experience, when you get sued, even if you have a corporation, they're going to sue you individually also.
Right.
Okay. And the first battle you pay your attorney is to have the judge remove you personally from the suit.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. And I've been to the temples of justice a couple of times and won, and I still was out $50,000-$60,000. So was I really a winner? I don't know.
Right. Yeah. No kidding. Right. True story. Well, luckily, knock on wood, never been on that side of it. Been to some, mediation type stuff.
Well, never have I had that with my planning practice, but in previous businesses. Yeah. And, I often tell people, nobody has to have a reason to sue you.
It's true.
It doesn't have to be valid.
Yep. Yeah. I agree.
But when I had the trucking company, we laid off a guy, and he sued us for $1 million over health insurance benefits. And it went on for a year, and we spent about $50,000.
Yeah.
And the day before the trial, he said he'd settle for $2,500.
Oh my gosh.
It was going to be, and we had to fly to the venue, and we were like, we'll pay him $2,500. It's cheaper than airfare.
Yeah, no doubt, right? Yeah, here you go. Sign this release.
Well, like I said, we had already spent $50,000 in defending.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
Yeah, but no, going back to the financial, yes, the structure You do want a corporate structure of some kind for that liability protection.
Yeah, sure.
But the main two differences on taxation is going to be the sub S election or not.
Yeah, no, it's a great explanation between the two. I definitely have some clarity on that. It's great. Well, let's go back to retirement planning, right?
Yeah.
And I try to teach my kids early, right? Hey, let's start putting money aside, right? And when they were 18, we went down and got them a retirement plan.
Good deal.
Not that they've really stuck with it like they should, but I'm planting the seed as much as I can, right?
There you go.
What are some strategies you think that a small business owner can do to keep their focus on the bigger picture of retirement?
Well,
when it comes to like on a monthly basis, yearly basis type of thing.
I mean, this is a biased answer, but if you had a financial planner like our firm, we'd be sitting down with you once a year saying, okay, well, here's how you're looking. These are the goals you've given me of when you want to retire or when you want to buy that boat or when and we sit there and go, here are your percentage odds of getting there, what you're doing now. And this is what you need to do to change to make it higher, or maybe you're in great shape. Just keep doing what you're doing. Right. So it helps to have a third party review your goals. But I mean, the way you do it is you set your goals, you have a financial plan personally, and you just follow it. And you check on it annually, see if you're making good progress. Right.
That's great.
Yeah.
Last one. Can you explain the benefits of diversifying income? Right. And what are some benefits to it? And just let's talk about diversification a little bit.
Okay.
In small business.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I've run down the rabbit hole in my experience of having multiple businesses. And in every one of them that I didn't have any personal expertise in, I personally lost money. Okay. They didn't work. Yeah. And I finally, by age 50, go, why not stick with what I know? All right. Doesn't mean it doesn't work for other people. Sure. But I just found it very difficult, especially being a passive investor in some businesses. Right. I mean, I've owned interest in a hair salon and a landscape business, a trucking business. I mean, I think there's a couple others out there. Can't think of them on the top of my head. But anyway, the idea of I have all these different ways of income. Right. I really kind of found out that if I just focus on what my area of expertise is, that's where I have the success. And then the secret is I just got to get as much cash out of the company as I can. Yeah. Now, investment wise, you do want a diversified portfolio because you don't want all your eggs in one basket. Sure. But as far as diversified income, it's just, I would say, stick with skills that you know. Right. Now, a lot of people are more talented than I am, and they know a lot of skills, and they can do different businesses. You're very successful at two different businesses. Yeah. I mean, we're doing all right. Yeah. Again, the main reason that for us is we have family within the business, right? And so, like the boys, they're helping me with the martial art school, and daughter-in-law runs the Graze Craze, right? So. Now, I'm definitely not the ones making the charcuterie on a weekly basis and things like that. I'm just the face of the company. That's good. Yeah, that's where you want to be. My wife says maybe different face, but anyway. But no, that's where I like to be. So it's great if you can diversify the income streams, but if you just want to focus on success, really focus on what you're good at. And I agree with that 100%. I'll teach a lot of times focus. Follow one course until successful. Absolutely. Good advice. Great advice. Follow one course until successful. Focus, right? And the best way to success is your personal bank account, not your business bank account. Yeah. If you're making the kind of money and you're setting it aside, and you're looking at it regularly and going, it's growing, if you get to that point, nowadays in financial planning, it's kind of the industry standard of if you want to have a successful retirement, you need to be saving 15% of your income. And I've heard that, 15%, right? As a business owner, and it's a successful business owner, hell, you want to go to 25. Yeah. I mean, that there's a comfort of saying, 25 cents out of every dollar I make, I'm setting aside for the future. Yeah. And then I'm living pretty good on the 75. Yeah. Then I guess it all comes down to living within your means, right? Living within your means. It's a huge thing, right? Right. Yeah. I had an old boss who used to say, "It's not the high cost of living that's a problem; it's the cost of living high."
Say that one more time.
It's not the high cost of living that's getting people set back. It's the cost of living high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Well, excellent. So we're late in the podcast now.
Okay.
Now let's get into something that maybe nobody knows about you, right? So those that have stuck with us and listening this long, right? They get the good, juicy stuff later. I don't know. What is something that
I love to fish. I love to read.
Okay.
I've had it's a personal goal for probably 30 years of reading at least 20 books a year. I learned by book reading.
Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of people don't, and that's cool. But like a real key that I talk to people that are starting a small business, and a frustration I've had dealing with people that who are small business owners that lack this is it's very important to understand accounting. Accounting is the scorecard to business. Why would you play a game if you don't know how to mark the score? Okay. When I started my first business, I didn't have an accounting background. And like I said, I like to learn by books. I went and bought a book.
Okay.
Accounting for Dummies. I'm going to learn this. Okay. Later in college, I took accounting courses and whatnot.
Right.
But it's important to learn that. And I've even told some young people that are going into like trades, electricians, or heating and air conditioning, sign up for a course at the community college, just one semester on basic accounting, and learn that. So anyway, personally, I like to read a lot. So I try to read 20 or more books. Yeah. There was a deal I did a few years ago that it was a personal quest, and I tried to read. Oxford University World Press had a series of world classics. So I said, I'm going to read a classic on this series for an author whose last name starts with each letter of the alphabet. So I did Jane Austen, and I did Balzac, and I read Julius Caesar, and I read Dostoevsky, and I worked all the way down to Emile Zola. So it took me about 3 years. I never read a bad book. They were all great books. Yeah. But that's just something. I'm a big old movie fan. I watch a lot of old movies. I reference them. And,
what's your favorite movie?
There's several. Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou?
Oh, my gosh.
I think I know that one by heart. And all the music to it. So.
You know, what's funny is two things that came to mind when you were talking. Number one, about accounting, right? Yeah. So I used to work for an RV industry, our RV company, just south of town here. And I was the parts and service director. Okay. And I worked really, really closely with the accounting department, you know, every month, our reports and stuff. And so we'd have our trend reports, and I'd learned all the accounting lingo and those lessons that I had early in life. Man, it benefits me even today in the businesses, right? And then, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? In the motorhome dealership, our service department in the back would get the motorhomes ready when they sold a new one. And two technicians love that movie. And so whenever they were testing the audio and the TVs and stuff, they'd always put that movie in.
Oh, that's great.
Like every day for like 3 years, every time I go back there, that movie is on every day of the week. 5 days a week, and it's hilarious. I'd sit out there and watch it and like, oh my gosh, I got to go back to work.
Well, I'm a big fan of the Coen brothers and their stuff. So yeah, it's a great one. And I use that line, "Don't seek the treasure," often as a warning to both my kids and other people.
There you go.
But I've been taking guitar lessons for the last year and a half, and love that from one of the sons of one of our members in our B&I group. Okay. And that has been, my wife keeps talking about we have to fight Alzheimer's as we get older. And the big deal is learning something new. Yep. And I'd never played music before. And so now I can see the benefits, just the joy of learning music and memorizing things. Yeah. And I really get
I definitely, matter of fact, I was having a conversation with Sandy Gandy just today about memorization as you get older, right? Yeah. And so we have also our martial arts schools, and we have a lot of elderly people that will join just for that memorization of the katas. And
it's a new skill.
It's a new skill, it's something that you have to sit there and memorize, over and over and over. And I remember whenever I went for my third degree, I had to show like 25 different katas. And so every day of the week for, a year, I'm sitting there just rehearsing them in the kitchen, in the bedroom, just anywhere. And I'll tell you what, it really felt like my mind was supercharged during that time. So reading and learning new skills, I think is so important.
And as a business owner in any profession, once you've done it 20 years or so, it comes pretty natural.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I can look at a financial statement like that and figure out where there's a problem or not.
Right.
And a lot of the things that we deal with every day is second hat to us because we're experts in the field.
Yep.
So we're really not exercising our mind.
Right. Yeah.
And so
you're
unconsciously
things, competent at that point.
Exactly.
You're unconsciously competent.
I love that phrase. I like that a lot. Yeah.
So I got that. There's 4 different levels of learning, right? First one is you're incompetently incompetent. Unconsciously incompetent. You don't know what you don't know. Then you become consciously incompetent. Know I don't know this stuff.
That's right.
Then you become consciously competent, where I have to think about what I'm doing. Right. And then the last one, unconsciously competent.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
So.
I have one of my favorite sayings is, "What I don't know is a lot more than what I know."
Mm-hmm. And the older I get, the more true that is.
More and more, even with clients today, they'll say, "What's the limit on this?" And I'll go, "Well, I think it's 30,000, but that changes every year. I got to go look it up."
Right.
I think the wisdom is just knowing there's a rule out there. Let me go research that.
That's wisdom there. So, well, thank you so much for being a part. It's been fun. Man, time's flown by. Good, and man, had a lot of good information, and I've learned some. And man, I hope y'all learned something as well too. Now, if someone wants to, talk to you about maybe some, financial advisory, is okay to. What's the easiest way someone can get a hold of you?
Our website, www.brazoswa.com.
Nice.
And then I'm at wes@brazoswa.com, email. And we have a YouTube channel, Brazo Wealth Advisors YouTube channel.
I'll drop some of the links below in the description on our YouTube channel. So
we're on LinkedIn and Facebook and that kind of stuff. So,
awesome. Yeah. Hey, thank y'all so much for hanging with us and joining the conversation. If you have future episodes that you're wanting to get some information on in the business world, then hit a comment below and we'll, get a... find someone that can give us that information for you. So thank y'all for being a part of it. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this out. We'll see you next time on the Biz Life.